Inside the Criminal Mind, the case that changed FBI profiling forever. Before we dive in, if you're not subscribed yet, you're basically walking into a crime scene without backup. Hit that button, drop a like, and let's unravel the darkness together. The screams had already faded by the time the first patrol unit reached the Pine Hollow overpass. Fallen leaves scattered across the bridge, carried by a cold November wind that pushed the fog down like a curtain. It was 2:14 a.m. when Officer Grant spotted the abandoned sedan, doors wide open, engine still running, headlights pointed toward the empty woods. On the asphalt lay a single object, an FBI credential badge, but the agent attached to it was nowhere in sight. This was the Night Special Agent Lauren Hale, the rising star of the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit, vanished in the middle of her own investigation. And it was only the beginning. Earlier that day, Hale had met with her partner, Agent Marcus Trent, in a cramped field office on the outskirts of Richmond, Virginia. The two had been assigned to a series of disappearances plaguing 3 counties. All victims between ages 27 and 45, all taken after midnight, all found with the same strange mark on their wrists, like a burn pattern but far too precise. But the most disturbing detail wasn't the mark itself. It was a placement, always on the left wrist, always angled the same way, always burned into the skin after death. That's intentional staging, Hale had said, flipping through autopsy photos. Someone wants us to see this. Trent had studied her, a woman known for building psychological profiles with almost supernatural precision. She didn't speak unless necessary, didn't speculate unless she was 90% certain, and she never showed fear. But even he noticed a slight tremor in her hand as she held the last file. This one doesn't fit, she whispered. The last victim wasn't a random civilian. He was a retired profiler. FBI. Someone was sending a message. Hours later, Hale went alone to follow up on a lead she never shared with Trent. Her last radio transmission was a brief, calm update. I'm close. I think I found his pattern. Then silence. When the FBI arrived at Pine Hollow, they realized something chilling. Hale hadn't been dragged away. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no broken branches. Instead, the footprints in the mud told a different story. She walked into the woods willingly. Why? Trent took the lead when the search dogs picked up her scent, following a narrow trail deeper into the forest. For 2 hours, the team moved in near silence. The only sound was a crackling of leaves beneath their boots and the occasional hiss of radio static. The deeper they went, the more unsettling the landscape became. Trees growing in unnatural clusters, like something had shaped the forest with intent. Then they found the stone, a standing slab, tall, rectangular, smooth at the center as if someone had rested their hands against it thousands of times. Etched into the surface was a symbol. The same pattern burned into every victim's wrist. Trent felt something cold crawl down his spine. He brought her here, he muttered. But why leave the car in the open? Why the badge? Why this symbol? A whisper of wind swept across the site. Then one of the cadets called out from behind the stone. Sir, you need to see this. Trent stepped around the slab and froze. There, pinned to a tree with a hunting knife, was a note. Clean handwriting. Perfect lines. No smudges. No haste. Follow the pattern. Agent Trent. She did. Hale's necklace, a silver chain she never removed, hung from the knife's handle. The team radioed for backup instantly, but Trent didn't wait. He yanked the note free, turned it over, and found a second line written in finer ink. A line that made his heart stop. You should have read her reports more carefully. The woods pressing around him. Every sound felt amplified. Every shadow seemed alive. They were being watched. Back at headquarters, forensic analysts determined the handwriting matched one of their top suspects from Hale's case files, a former psychology professor named Christopher Keene, who vanished 3 years earlier after being investigated for unethical behavioral experiments. But the timeline didn't make sense. Keene disappeared before the murders began. No financial activity. No digital footprint. No sightings. Dead or hiding. Or something worse. Trent dove through Hale's laptop, searching for anything she might have found. At first, it was just routine notes, interviews, timestamps, maps. But buried in a hidden folder was a file labeled simply, pattern_0. Inside was an audio recording. Hale's voice shook slightly. He knows how we think. He predicts our responses. Every murder, every scene, every mark. They are not trophies. They are instructions. He's not just ahead of us. He's training us. A long pause, and I think I finally understand what he wants. The recording cut abruptly. A dread Trent had never felt before washed over him. This wasn't just a hunt. It was a design, a psychological maze, and Hale had walked straight into the center of it. Then the tech analyst burst into the room, face pale. "Agent Trent, we found the last location her phone pinged before it shut off." Trent braced himself. "Where?" The analyst swallowed hard. Inside the basement of an abandoned home, one registered to Christopher Keene. Trent's pulse slammed through his ears. But when the tactical team reached the house and forced the basement door open, what they found changed everything. A low hum suddenly filled the room as a projector snapped from static to a bright, white screen. Then, slowly, deliberately, images began to appear. Crime scenes, victims, wrist marks, Keene's symbol. Each picture faded into the next like chapters in a film. Someone had built a full psychological presentation. A lesson for them. Agent Rodriguez from the tactical team approached a small device connected to projector. "Sir, this wasn't triggered by us. It was set on a motion sensor. Someone wanted us to see this the moment we walked in." Trent's stomach twisted. This wasn't a trail. It was performance. The next slide flashed onto the wall, a list of dates, 6 murder dates, and one more at the bottom labeled with tomorrow's date. Then a phrase beneath it, graduation. Hale's disappearance hadn't been the end. It was the escalation. Trent leaned in, analyzing every detail, his profiler's brain firing on instinct. Keene wasn't killing for pleasure or power. He was constructing something. A story, a lesson, a test. But for who? A pounding on the wall to their right made everyone jump. The tactical team swarmed toward the sound. Flashlights aimed at a metal door bolted shut from the outside. Someone was inside. Rodriguez reached for the lock, hands shaking. Trent stepped forward, adrenaline spiking. When the door swung open, the lights revealed a man tied to a chair, duct tape over his mouth, head slumped. His wrist bore the same symbol burns. Trent rushed forward, cut him loose. But as they removed the tape and untied his hands, something felt wrong. The man didn't speak, didn't move. His eyes fluttered open just barely, and Trent staggered back. He recognized the face. Dr. Ethan Bellamy, former partner of Christopher Keene, a behavioral scientist who had disappeared a year earlier. Rodriguez shined a light over his body. "So, this man isn't dead, but is barely alive." Bellamy's lips parted, voice faint as a whisper. "Not Keene." Trent leaned in. "What do you mean? Who did this?" Bellamy trembled violently, forcing out each word. She stuttered us all." Trent froze. Who? Who did this to you?" Bellamy's eyes rolled back, and with one final shudder, he whispered, "Not him. Your agent." Everything inside Trent went cold. No. Hale was a victim. Taken. Forced. Used. She couldn't be. Rodriguez stared wide-eyed. "Is he saying Agent Hale did this?" "Impossible!" Trent snapped, though doubt, sharp and suffocating, began pressing on his chest. Then a phone chimed softly. Not one of theirs. It came from the floor beneath the projector table. Trent crouched and pulled out an older model smartphone. It vibrated again, displaying a notification. New message from LH. His breath caught. Lauren Hale. Hands trembling, he opened the message. A video began to play. The screen revealed Hale, alive, alert, and staring directly into the camera. She wasn't injured. She wasn't tied. She wasn't crying for help. She was calm, focused, almost eager. "Marcus," she said softly, "I've reached the final stage." Trent felt his chest tighten as if the walls were collapsing around him. "I know you found the basement. I know you've spoken to Dr. Bellamy. But everything he told you, everything you think you understand, is only the surface." She leaned closer. "He never kidnapped me. I sought him out. The room fell silent. Hale continued, voice cold and precise. For months, I've been tracking patterns you refuse to see. Keene didn't kill those people. He documented them, recorded them. Someone else executed the acts. Someone trying to understand the limits of human behavior. Her lips curled into a faint, unsettling smile. And now I understand them too. Trent's hand shook. This wasn't Hale. This couldn't be Hale. We're not chasing a killer, she whispered. We're completing his work. The video glitched, then ended on a single text slide. See you tomorrow. Everything will be clear at graduation. Rodriguez whispered behind Trent, voice breaking. So, what do we do? Trent stared at the frozen screen, jaw clenched, pulse pounding like a war drum. We find her, he said, but he didn't say what he was truly thinking. Before graduation, or before she complete whatever she thinks she's become. But as they turned to leave the basement, the projector flickered one last time, showing a new image they hadn't triggered. A photograph, taken only minutes earlier, of Trent standing in the basement. Someone else was inside the house with them. The photograph on the projector, Trent standing in the basement, time-stamped 3 minutes earlier, hit the team like a silent explosion. Every flashlight snapped upward. Every rifle cocked. The air charged with danger. Someone had been watching them. Someone still inside. Rodriguez whispered, "Thermal scan the house. Now." The tech specialist scrambled, pulling out the handheld sensor, sweeping left to right. The screen buzzed with static, then displayed faint outlines. "Sir, there's a heat signature on the second floor. Slow movement." Trent moved first, heart pounding, the thought repeating over and over. It's her. It has to be her. They climbed the stairs in formation. With every step the old boards creaked like warning cries. Faint light flickered from a cracked door at the end of the hallway. Trent motioned for silence. 3, 2, 1. The team burst into the room, but it was empty. At least empty of people. The walls were plastered with documents, newspaper clippings, maps, and psychological charts. Strings connected photos of Trent, Hale, Keene, and every victim. It was an overwhelming collage of obsession and design. "This isn't a hideout," Rodriguez murmured. "It's a command center." In the center of the room sat a single laptop, open, a blinking cursor on a blank document. As Trent approached, a message suddenly began typing on its own, as if guided by invisible hands. "You're late." Trent's breath hitched. "Lauren." Another sentence appeared. "Graduation begins in 1 hour." Then, follow the pattern. Before he could react, the laptop shut itself off with a soft click. A tremor of fear ran through the room. Rodriguez asked, "Where do we go next?" Trent scanned every inch of the wall. Then he saw it, a map with a thick red circle around a remote location just outside Richmond. Fort Ashbury, an abandoned military training site. And written beneath it, in Hale's handwriting, "Control the variables. Remove the noise. Observe the choice." Trent didn't wait. "Gear up. She's leading us there, and she wants an audience." The drive to Fort Ashbury was suffocating. Dense woods flanked the narrow road. The air felt too still, too quiet, like the forest was anticipating something. When they arrived, the floodlights from FBI support teams cut through the darkness, illuminating the desolate compound. Dilapidated barracks, rusted fences, a collapsed watchtower, everything swallowed by vines and shadows. But the training yard at the center, a vast square of cracked concrete, was spotless, cleared intentionally, prepared. Rodriguez muttered. She set the stage. All Keene did, another agent whispered. But Trent knew better. This felt like Hale. A faint buzzing came from one of the old loudspeakers mounted on the roof of the main building. Then a voice emerged, distorted, but unmistakably hers. "Marcus, you made it." Every agent froze. "Welcome to the final assessment." Her tone wasn't frantic, frightened, or coerced. It was clinical, analytical, like she was conducting a lecture. "You always thought the killer wanted chaos. But chaos is useless without control." Keene understood that. Bellamy understood that. They were trying to map behavior, mine, yours, Everyone's. A long pause. Then, and now I'm continuing their work. Trent stepped forward, shouting into the night. Lauren, you're not thinking clearly. Keen manipulated you. He conditioned you. No, she replied calmly. He revealed the truth. Humans always choose predictable patterns, even when they believe they are making free decisions. Her voice shifted direction, from speaker to speaker, moving like she was pacing unseen rooms. I removed myself from your investigation so I could observe unbiased behavior, and you proved my hypothesis perfectly. Rodriguez whispered, Sir, she's everywhere. Then, without warning, every floodlight shut off. Total darkness. A long second passed. 2 seconds. Then a single spotlight snapped on in the center of the yard, illuminating a figure standing alone. Lauren Hale, hair tied back, eyes sharp, wearing tactical gear but no weapons. Her expression was unreadable, somewhere between sorrow and satisfaction. Marcus, she said softly. He approached slowly, hands raised. Lauren, whatever you think this is, it doesn't have to end here. Her eyes glistened. Yes, it does. Behind her, another spotlight flicked on, revealing Christopher Keene, kneeling, hands bound, gagged, his face bruised, terrified. Rodriguez gasped, He's alive! Hale nodded. He thought he could push the limits of profiling by manipulating behavior, but he never understood the real variable. She looked at Trent. Choice. She held up a detonator device, small, black, deadly. You have 2 options, Marcus. Option 1, save Keene. Run to him now. Stop me from pressing this button. But you'll lose a chance to stop the next stage. Trent's throat tightened. Next stage? Her expression hardened. The final sequence Keene created. One last experiment. One that will continue with or without him. Option 2, she continued, raising the device. Let me eliminate him. End his influence. Accept that I've taken control of the experiment. And then you can take me in. Trent's mind raced. Every training, every instinct, every memory of Hale flashing through him. She wasn't bluffing. She believed this. She had become consumed by the design. Keene began shaking violently, struggling against his restraints, muffled screams echoing in the yard. Rodriguez whispered, So, what's the order? But Trent didn't speak. He couldn't, because he finally saw the truth. This wasn't a test between 2 choices. It was a trap, a loop, a psychological snare. Whichever decision he made would prove Hale's theory that humans follow patterns, that the illusion of choice is predictable, and that meant there was only one way to break it. Trent closed his eyes, inhaled deeply, then turned around. He walked away. Every agent stayed, stunned. Hale froze. Marcus, what are you doing? He didn't look back, refusing the pattern. The silence cracked something inside her. No, you have to pick. That's the point. You have to choose. But Trent kept walking. Hale's voice broke, trembling for the first time. Marcus, stop. He didn't. He walked past the agents, past the barricades, past the perimeter, into the darkness. And then, a scream, a sob, a single gunshot. The agents rushed forward, weapons drawn, and froze in horror. Christopher Keene lay dead, shot once through the heart. Lauren Hale knelt beside him, her own weapon dropped beside her, hands shaking uncontrollably. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, He broke the pattern. He broke the pattern. When she looked up at Trent, who stood watching from a distance, her voice cracked. What does it mean? Trent's reply was almost a whisper. It means the experiment is over. Weeks later, the FBI declared the case closed. Hale was placed under psychiatric hold, her future uncertain. The official report labeled her as both victim and perpetrator, manipulated, yet responsible. But the final twist came 3 months later. A new body appeared in a nearby county, marked with the same precise burn on the left wrist. Only this time, the symbol wasn't Keene's. It was Lauren Hale's. The investigation reopened, and viewers were left with one lingering dread.